Sheikh Hamdan's wife found out she was not the only one. From a stranger, not from him, not from his family, not from any of the people who were close enough to the situation to have known for long enough that the knowing had become its own kind of complicity. Not from the woman whose existence made her not the only one. Not from the palace management that had been organizing the official story around the private reality for years. From a stranger, someone with no official connection to any of the people whose lives the information was about. Someone who had come into possession of the knowledge through a chain of circumstance that nobody had designed and nobody could have predicted, and that deposited the truth in the hands of the last person anyone inside the situation had anticipated being the one to deliver it. The stranger reached out, and Shekha received what she had been moving toward without knowing she was moving toward it. The specific, complete, no longer possible to manage away truth that she had not been the only woman in her husband's life from the day the life they officially shared had begun. The stranger was not malicious. That is the detail that makes the story more complicated than a simple betrayal. The information did not come from someone who wanted to cause damage, did not come from a rival or an enemy or anyone whose motivation was the destabilization of the official story or the humiliation of the people whose lives it described. It came from someone who had the information and who had, for their own reasons, reasons that had nothing to do with the specific people involved and everything to do with the stranger's own relationship to the truth and to what is owed to someone who is living inside a version of their life that is significantly less complete than the actual version, decided that the person who most needed him to have it was the person who had been living without it. How the stranger had the information is the question that sits at the center of this story, and that does not have a clean, simple answer. Information about a private life, as carefully managed as Hamdan's, does not travel to strangers through obvious channels. It travels through the specific, unpredictable path that information always travels when it is real. And when the world is full of people who are adjacent to the real thing in ways that the people managing the official story cannot fully control. Someone knew someone who knew someone. A connection that seemed unrelated carried something that was entirely related. The specific geography of the Gulf, the specific intimacy of the circles that surround families like his, the way information moves through those circles in ways that the people at the center of it cannot always track, produced a path that ended at a stranger, who ended at Sheikha. The form of the reaching out was not a dramatic confrontation. Not an anonymous letter was delivered to the palace with photographs inside. Not the kind of revelation that exists in films, is about people in powerful positions having their secrets exposed. Quieter than that, more ordinary. The specific ordinary form that information takes when it travels between real people in real life. A message, perhaps, or a conversation that began as something else and arrived somewhere that neither party had anticipated arriving when it began. The stranger said what they knew, with whatever combination of hesitation and directness and concern for the person they were telling that the specific character of the stranger produced, and Sheikha, who received it in whatever moment she received it. Whatever ordinary context of her ordinary official day the information arrived into, was given the specific, named, documented truth of what she had been feeling the shape of for the entire duration of her marriage. There was another woman, had been since before the marriage, had continued through the marriage without interruption, had produced children during the marriage, was living at the time the stranger delivered the information, in a life that had the specific organization and the specific permanence of something that was not going to be ended by any official arrangement, regardless of what the official arrangement required. The stranger told her this in whatever level of detail the stranger had access to, and Sheikha received it in the specific way of someone who is hearing something confirmed rather than someone who is hearing something new, with the recognition that comes from finally getting the specific information that gives the shape she has been carrying its full form. The shock was not the existence of the other woman. The shock was the specificity. This is the distinction that matters. She had felt the existence of something, had felt this distance that the existence of something produces in a person who is officially present but privately elsewhere. She had felt all of that since the beginning. What she had not had was the specific, the name, the duration, the children, the life that had been running alongside the official one, with the full establishment of something that had never been intended to be temporary. The stranger gave her the specific, and the specific, when it arrived into the space where the feeling had been living without form, changed the weight of what she had been carrying from the manageable weight of a suspicion into the unmanageable weight of a confirmed fact. She did not immediately react in the way that a person receiving devastating information is sometimes expected to react. She did not call him, did not confront the palace management, did not make any of the moves that the confirmation of the information would eventually produce in the days following. She sat with it in the specific way she had always sat with the difficult things in this marriage, fully, without the protection of not knowing, but also without the reactive impulse to immediately convert the feeling into action. She was in possession of a truth. The truth was not going anywhere. She had time to decide what she was going to do with it. And she used the time the way she had used every difficult piece of information the marriage had produced, deliberately, with the dignity that had always been her consistent quality in a situation that had consistently undermined every other quality it might have been reasonable to hope for. What the stranger had given her was not a gift. Nobody would have called it that. The truth that ends the comfortable version of a life you have been living is not a gift in any straightforward sense of the word. But it was something. It was the specific thing that made the rest of what happened possible. The conversations, the decisions, the eventual departure, the retrieval of herself from a situation that the full truth made it impossible to remain in with any integrity. The stranger had given her the ability to finally act on a complete picture rather than continuing to navigate around an incomplete one. She found out she was not the only one. From a stranger who owed her nothing and gave her everything she needed to finally understand the life she had been living. And in the understanding, in the specific, documented, no longer deniable understanding of the full shape of what the marriage had always contained, she found the thing that the marriage had never given her: clarity. Complete, honest, usable clarity from the person least expected to provide it. A stranger who told the truth because the truth needed to be told. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring you the real story of Sheikh Hamdan, the strangers who told the truth, the wives who deserved to know it, and the moments when the information that changes everything arrives from the direction nobody was expecting.